everybody. Thanks all for joining me. I should tell you, I'm going to show you what I'm working on as we're interviewing before Gerhard puts this in the oven. In fact, I'll show you Gerhard. Here he is. Here's the man of the hour. And we are putting in, can you see those?
Yes.
Pumpkin rolls.
Oh.
And he is in charge of taking them out when they're done. I started these at like 3 p.m, forgetting about the 2 times it has to rise thing. I thought, oh no. So it's like, I will have rolls rising as we are talking, and hopefully they're going to turn out. And Gerhard, his favorite thing is not to be in the kitchen. So he's really being a noble husband by taking over Pumpkin Roll Patrol. So anyway, that's what we're doing over here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. It must smell so good in your house right now.
It does.
Yeah. Are they, so I have now I have follow-up questions about your rolls before we even get started in the questions about you. Are they sweet rolls or are they savory rolls?
I think it does call for a little bit of sugar in it. It's the King Arthur flour pumpkin recipe. Gotcha. And a lot of them, all these spices and things, I just want like dinner rolls that have the pumpkin in them. I was doing an experiment on a recipe for my monthly newsletter, and it called for a small amount of pumpkin. I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of this pumpkin? A pumpkin pie and those other pumpkin rolls that have the cream cheese, in them. But
those are the kind I like.
Relatively nutritious might not be a bad idea. So that's what we're making. So if you ladies want to decide you want to try that, it's that you can find it online. It's the King Arthur, the King Arthur flour recipe.
Awesome. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Sheila, for that recommendation. I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to make some. Do you have to use yeast? Do you have yeast?
Baking
okay, so you have to make it right.
Yeah.
Baking season has begun. Well, and you're up on the Pacific Northwest, so it's very chilly where you are, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. We have, our summer is very interesting out here. I always tell people our summer really goes from July through September, because June is usually rainy and meh. And then all of a sudden, after about the 4th of July or so, everything comes to life. And of course, as many of you know, out here on the West Coast, we've had an exceptionally dry summer, and has not been good for so many people. My friend Melinda Curtis in Oregon, she just recently moved to a house out there, and they were not far from where one of the little towns that burned up, and they were packed and ready to evacuate if necessary. So I was like, oh, welcome to the Northwest. So it's been a little bit tough, but for the most part here in our corner of Washington, we get our share of rain, and that just keeps everything green and, keeps us from going up in flames. So that is a good thing. So right now we're just starting to cool off a little bit.
That's cool. And I bet it's so inspiring too, like just that atmosphere. And I love that you set the book in Seattle too. So it just kind of, or at the beginning of it, at least the characters are there. So it's just like really cool to kind of feel that Pacific Northwest vibe in there.
Yes.
Well, so Sheila, let's go back a couple of steps. I loved on your biography on your website, all the different things you did as you were preparing for your writing journey and your writing career. I'd love to talk to you about and hear how you started writing and how you kind of figured out that these were the kind of stories that you wanted to tell.
Well, it's interesting because I really did sort of fall into my writing career. I'd been writing stories since I was a little kid, and my poor 3rd grade class captive because they had to hear Sheila's latest story. But so I was always doing that. But before I became a writer, what I really wanted to do was be a songwriter. And I spent a fortune on trips to Nashville and song demos, and oh my goodness. But that they say the writing business is tough. Well, the music business is about 10 times tougher, and you really kind of have to be down there. And I couldn't convince my husband to give up his job and let's all move the kids to Nashville and take a gamble on Sheila's songwriting career. So about then, I just kind of on a whim had I got a book idea and just sent something off to an agent, and that's actually sold. And so my husband said, well, you know what, why don't you stick with the writing? You're actually making some money at that. And so the music, I still dabble in the music on the side. I played in bands for years when our kids were really little. That was my part-time job. Had a singing telegram company. I did all kinds of goofy things, all in the name of not wanting to be a working mom. So I'm sure some of you can identify with that. You end up doing some very strange things, but always things that were kind of creative. And that's just, I think, you're wired the way you're wired. You're either wired to be a numbers gal and be a fabulous accountant, or you're wired to be a kept woman and write. And so that's what I chose. So anyway, and I always loved writing. I love humor. I love reading books with humor. And of course, I like reading books that have to do with things we women are concerned with friendship and family. And so it was kind of a natural thing to gravitate, toward this. And in another life, I tried writing historical regencies, and those were fun, but I was a terrible researcher. And I much prefer to write right now in my time where I can call somebody on the phone and say, is this right? I've got it working on edits for a spring book and have some medical issues. And I have a niece who's a PA. And so I shot her all these questions going, okay, is this read right? And that's so much easier than trying to go through a textbook in the library and go, am I really understanding this? So kind of like writing in my own time period. But I love to read historical novels. So there you have it.
So what was the romance that got you hooked on the genre as a reader?
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Of course, every woman probably on the planet cites Pride and Prejudice. That was one of my big faves. I really did start out in the Regency era. And I discovered Barbara Cartland. And then I went from Barbara Cartland to Georgette Heyer. And I love Georgette Heyer. She's just, so amazing. And then, of course, you do the whole gamut, Victoria Holt and Philippa Gregory and, all of those. And then, in the contemporary, of course, the last few years, I've been a huge Kristen Higgins fan. I just love her because I love that combination of humor, and yet there's some seriousness too. And I know she's kind of going a little bit more toward the serious end now, but I loved her romances. They were just really fun. And I'm kind of a close the door kind of girl. I tell people I write 50 Shades of White because I just can't, I can't do the peeping Tom scenes. I just can't go in the bedroom with you guys. I'm sorry. So that worked really well for me. She would kind of shut the door and then they'd come out when they're all done and have a smile on their face. And that kind of worked really well for how I roll. So that's kind of the type of thing that I've always gravitated toward.
So cool. Well, and adding that, like infusing and finding the right balance of humor and touching and emotional confliction with your characters, like, is it easier for you to write the comedy and the humor, or is it easier for you to write the love and the struggles between the couples as they're figuring themselves out?
I think for most writers, you just sort of so into the story. And my family all have quite a sense of humor, and you work on that funny bone. And I think it just sort of comes, like, oh, this would be fun, or just some goofy thing pops into your head. And so I think it's kind of I don't even know how to describe it, actually. It's just sort of how you're wired. But I do like also getting into the deeper, because we all feel, and those feelings and remembering, and like, sometimes, a couple of times I've actually had to write a really serious scene or a death scene, and we've gone through that in our family. I'm sure many of you have, and you just tap into those feelings, and it's not too hard for them to surface again. But it's just, that's part of life, isn't it? Life is a mixture of happy and sad and comedy and drama, and that's just how it is. So it's just like kind of how the story evolves as you're going along.
Well, and writing a Christmas book, and you have many Christmas books all the time, especially this year, I think you have 3 coming out. How do you get in the Christmas spirit when it's not Christmas time?
Well, it's my favorite holiday, so it's not too hard.
Okay.
I love Christmas. I love the message of hope behind it, and peace on earth. Wouldn't that be nice in America for all? Peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Just the whole thing about just the redemption factor of it. And then, of course, you have all the fun things that go along with it, the family gatherings and the parties with the friends and the lights and the celebrations and the baking, all the dining goodies, love those. And so it's just, I think it's a spectacular holiday. And so it's not too hard to get into that Christmas spirit, because I just love the holiday. It really is my favorite one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always wonder if authors have to listen to Christmas music or have like a Christmas room where they just stare at the Christmas vision board to get inspired.
No, all I have is my own little imagination and my computer. But,
So as you heard a little bit before we started chatting, our bonus question for our readers was what would be their favorite European Christmas cruise? And because One Charm Christmas takes place on a Christmas cruise, I want to know where the idea came for the story. What kind of research did you get to do, and where were your favorite stops on the research trips that you took?
Research was really tough. I had to take a Christmas cruise. Actually, we have done two different ones. I'll back up. When we were first married, we lived in Germany. And I remembered going to the Christmas market as a sweet young thing and I remember somebody I think mentioned about having been, maybe it was Samantha, been in Europe and done the Christmas markets. I can't remember who. It wasn't you. Somebody I remember was talking about that. It's just such a special experience. And I thought, gosh, of course I heard about these. I thought that would just be so fun to duplicate. So we did a cruise, and the first one was on, I'm gonna say it wrong, the Main River. And we did that, all these little charming towns along the river and some big cities too. And one of my favorite cities to go to is Rothenburg. It's a walled city and it is charming and romantic. And it's quite an interesting city. That city at this point is really, it's all about tourism. They are open in the spring and then through the Christmas holidays, and then they go to sleep for a few months. Everybody goes on vacation and they all scram out of town because the tourists are done. And then they open it up again come spring. So you've got all these gorgeous towns and each market has its own little flavor. And so I had such a wonderful time that first time. And we were talking with my husband's family about doing some kind of a thing together. And we said, let's do it. We were telling about this cruise. Let's do a cruise. So one of his brothers and wives took us up on the offer and we did another cruise, another Christmas cruise. And that was on the Rhine River. And it was just, we had such a great time. And I thought, what a fun book that would be to put that in. You really meet so many nice people when you're doing a cruise. We haven't done a lot. We've done a few cruises over the years, saved our shekels, and we have made some lifelong friends doing that. It's just been really fun. And I thought that would be a fun thing to write about. Of course, that was before COVID came and made cruising not kind of hazardous to your health. Hopefully that's going to change pretty soon and people will be able to do that again. I just think it's one of the most fun ways to do a vacation. You can, if you happen to be more introverted and you want to just see the scenery and read a book, you can do that. If you're more of a party animal like I am, you can just have something to do all the time and some poor person to bug you everywhere you go. So it's really fun. And of course, you have an opportunity to buy some very unique Christmas gifts for people because they're just, a lot of these beautifully handcrafted things. And oh gosh, I should show you one of the things I got. Let me reach up and grab it here.
Yes, please show us.
Can you see this?
Beautiful. Is that hand painted?
It's not lit at the moment. So you put your little, your little candle inside and then it just glows beautifully. And they have these in big sizes and small sizes. I got a bunch of little votive ones to give for Christmas gifts to people. And it's just unique. Everything from baked goods to, you name it. Lebkuchen, you'll find a lot of that. That's a popular Bavarian spicy little cookie, and you'll see a lot of that little Lebkuchen hearts. And the other big thing, of course, everywhere you go, and too bad that is not here. My little, where are those? I think those are at our little beach digs. These little cute mugs that you can get that they sell the Glühwein in. And Glühwein is it's spices and orange juice and wine, and they heat it up and serve it hot. And you will find booths selling that at every Christmas market in all over Europe. And you get this cute little collectible mug that goes with it. So I did my share of collecting mugs while we were on this cruise. We came back, oh my gosh, with suitcases just loaded because I did all my Christmas shopping with presents, and it was just fun. It was really great. So as you can see, I am a big fan of cruises, and especially if you can do one of those Christmas market ones, they are fun. If you can't quite afford to do that, Leavenworth, Washington is another wonderful place to go. I don't know if any of you have been there, but they're a little German town. And way back in the early 60s, they were on the edge of extinction. The railroad had moved, the lumber industry there had dried up, and it was about to become a ghost town. And the town fathers kind of got together and said, okay, well, you know what? This kind of looks a lot like, the Bavarian Alps. We could do a German town. And they redid the whole town with German facades and you name it, and reinvented themselves completely. And they're the closest thing you'll get to Germany if you can't make it all the way over to Europe. It's a really fun place to go on. That's where I actually based my Icicle Falls series on, was Leavenworth. It's charming.
Oh, it sounds so charming. I think one of my favorite dishes I had at a Christmas market was the raclette, the melted cheese on potatoes.
Oh, yum. That
That's
never had it. That sounds really good.
yeah, it's one.
I didn't find that.
Well, it's interesting because I had it in France, so at one
Ah,
of their Christmas markets. So I
oh,
think it must be the Belgian influence and not the
oh,
German part.
maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
it was
Fun.
it's the thing I always think about. I'm like, oh, it's so good. It's my
Oh,
favorite.
yes. All those
Well, and speaking of like, a pre-COVID world, I found Sophie's character so interesting because I felt like she's almost prophetic in her hypochondria and fear of germs.
I know. Oh my gosh. In fact, I think, I'll tell you, this is a funny little aside. In the first version of the book, I had her and the sister in the airport, and she was wearing a mask. And her sister was giving her a bad time and saying, "You idiot, what are you doing? You look like a bozo." And we kind of went, things have changed. We're all wearing masks now. So we took that out because it just didn't feel right at the time when I wrote it. You hardly would see anybody ever traveling with a mask. And of course now we all are. And that particular character, the inspiration for her was me, because I am like the world's biggest hypochondriac. Oh my gosh, if somebody has anything, I think I've got it. And so this COVID thing, this has been a really interesting time. I'm a hypochondriac and I'm an extrovert. And so here I am, I'm like in prison and I can't see it. And my nose itches. Am I getting something? Oh, anyway. Here I am in prison, and then everything, there are germs everywhere waiting to get me. And so, I mean, we were in California at the time where our kids are. And I mean, I was washing bananas. I mean, you name it, everything was getting squirted with bleach. And one time we'd gone to the store, I was being really careful. We got in the car and I opened my water bottle, went to unscrew the top and take a drink. And it was like, I touched it with my germy hands and I swallowed. And so now I'm trying not to swallow all the way back to the condo. And I'm like rubbing hand sanitizer up my nose, and I'm just having a fit because I might have gotten a germ. So, oh my goodness, I probably would be the first in line when they have a vaccine. Greg, please vaccinate me. So it wasn't too hard to come up with the character of Sophie. I just wrote myself.
Did you feel a lot of catharsis after every time you would finish a scene with her in it? You're just like, ah, I understand her so well.
Just like on to the next hypochondria experience. Oh my goodness. But anyway, it was fun to be able to get into those characters. And one of the things I really do like is to be able to wrap things up with everyone being satisfied by the end of the book. We're always making progress in some direction. We're happy. We're finding that HEA. I feel like there is so much misery in the world and stress right now that I don't want to add to it. I don't want to add to anybody's depression with something I'm writing. I want things to get resolved for the characters and have people come over with a smile and go, gosh, I feel better for having read that. I feel encouraged, or, whatever. So for me, that's really a big thing. I want readers to escape, not feel more miserable. So that's kind of my writing mission.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that kind of sort of spinoff, one other thing that you bring to readers is the fact that a couple of your books have already been adapted by Lifetime and Hallmark. And I wanted to hear how that experience was for you and if that's something that you want to do in the future again.
Oh my goodness, I'm dying for another movie because I want to have a red carpet party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. The first one happened so fast, we didn't get to go visit the set or anything. But with Non-Lives, we got to go visit the set and even I angled my way into getting a little cameo role because at that time I was still hoping to get on Dancing with the Stars. That has not happened. But
Sheila, I am so proud of you for doing that. The amount of authors that don't demand a walk-on cameo in their Hallmark movie upsets me. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're so funny. Well, again, writers are also different, and some writers are just a little more shy and they would just be mortified to even ask, but I just happen to be a big ham bone, and any chance I can be in the spotlight, I'm like, where is it? So I was excited to be able to do that. And when we went up, I was just finishing up chemo for cancer. I'd had uterine cancer and it was exhausting that we were there for, I don't remember, 8 hours or so, 8 or 10 hours. And I kept saying to my husband, we probably better get out. He probably would like us to leave. He goes, oh, we're fine. Cause he was having a great time. We were looking at everything through the cameras and, and he was just having a great time. I said, I have to go, I'm exhausted, but it was so much fun. And here's a funny little aside, what we did when we were doing this scene. I know you all know that in the background scenes, well, I hope you all know, I don't want to spoil this for you, but nobody's really talking in the background scene. They're just kind of nodding, like, well, you feel really stupid going, So we began to kind of whisper to each other, whisper, whisper. And finally, the guy with the boom mic came up and said, would you shut up? We're picking you up on the mic. But do you know who
You're like,
I am?
I'm a star.
It was pretty funny. Oh my gosh. So anyway, but it was really fun. It was, you write down certain things as highlights in your life, and that goes down definitely as a highlight. We had so much fun up there. They were so gracious and kind. Another fun highlight too, when it comes to performing things, this was many years ago, and had to do with my book, Merry Xmas. And one of my songwriting buddies and I wrote a song together to go with that, to go with the character. It was called Merry Christmas Mama. You can still see it on YouTube. And that was another highlight thing. We took over this little pub in a small nearby town. They were so cute. They had Welcome Sheila Roberts and Company on the billboard when we drove up. It was really fun. And we did this crazy video. I got hauled off by Santa Claus, and it was just, that was another thing. It was just like a big party. We had such a good time filming that. So I really think, well, maybe it's not too late. I mean, look at Betty White. I keep thinking I'd love to have been able to have an acting career. So who
There's
knows?
still time.
Maybe there's still
for
time.
sure.
Betty can't be around forever. She'll need somebody to take her place.
She needs an understudy
Who
for
said
sure.
that? Sorry, Betty.
And then Betty White found pushed down a flight of stairs.
Yeah. And Sheila Roberts was mysteriously in the area at the time. Yeah. But Betty might need an understudy anyway. So
Exactly. I'm sure she does. She doesn't want to have to always be there all the time. She's got things to do.
That's right. She needs a vacation. She needs to go on a cruise. She can go on a cruise and I'll take her part.
Well, I heard you. We had a question from Heather that I'd like to ask you. So she wants to know, what was the most enjoyable book for you to write? I know that's like picking a baby, but
Wow.
give us your attempt.
It kind of is. It's like, who's your favorite? And that's hard. A couple. Well, about three. I'll say about three. One
That's
of them
great.
is called What She Wants. I think that got renamed to, I forget, something else, but it was about a bunch of poker buddies trying to solve their women problems by reading romance novels. And I had so much fun writing that. It was really fun. The other two are Christmas ones, On Strike for Christmas, which really kind of put me on the map. And that was the one that became a Lifetime movie. I just had so much fun writing that. And that one, I always tell my story on Gerhardt. He was misbehaving one year after Thanksgiving and kind of grumbling about, got to be with your big noisy family again. We just did Thanksgiving. And I said, you have a bad attitude. I'm going to put you in a book. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Well, of course, the lesson completely backfired, because then he became a little star in his own right. And he was very happy with that. And so much for making him feel guilty about being naughty. But that was a really fun book to write. I had a good time with those characters. And then probably the third one was The 9 Lives of Christmas. I had a lot of fun. That movie is so doggone popular. It plays all the time. Every time I turn around, somebody's watching it. And but the sad thing with that is my poor little cat didn't get any kind of a speaking role in the movie. And in the book,
Right.
he's one of the viewpoint characters. I will say in that book, though, however, I didn't realize what a potty mouth my fireman had until I reread the book once. A lady who really gave me a scolding about that, and it kind of made me think about being a little more careful about what I write in my books. She ended up saying, I'm going to keep the cover because I like the cat, but I'm throwing the book away. I thought, oh boy. So that was a lesson learned. So I'm trying to have my characters behave themselves just a little bit more now.
Oh man, but making them too buttoned up.
Well, they're not too buttoned up, but only a couple of buttons down.
Well, Sheila, one of the other questions that we asked everybody that was here is what they have been reading, listening to, and watching. Do you have any recommendations for us?
Well, I like to really read across the board. So I don't just read romance and women's fiction. Right now I'm reading he's new to me, Baldacci. I can't think of his first name off the top of my head.
David Baldacci.
Thank you, David Baldacci. I'm reading my first David Baldacci book and enjoying that. Way back when the first Jack Reacher movie came out, I'd never heard of Lee Child or the Jack Reacher books. And after the movie, I was like, okay, I got to read these. So I have become a Jack Reacher addict and been reading through those books. And so that's kind of, where I am right now. I'm kind of in guy mode. I'm reading the guy books here for a while, and that's been kind of fun. So that, and listening to, this is terrible. I haven't been listening to very much music lately. I've been listening to talk radio, which no wonder I'm wanting to escape to books.
Mhm.
But anyway, that, and then watching, gosh, there have been some really fun things we've watched. I'm going to get this wrong. Hammett Macbeth. I think that's it. This cute little series, and it's set in, is it Scotland, I think, and he's a little policeman there, and it's a cute, funny, cozy kind of mystery. So if anybody hasn't seen that series, that is really fun. So I got kind of hooked on that. So
What
that,
streaming service is it on? Is it on Netflix or is it on
you know, I think, I'm looking at Gerhardt. Do you remember where we found that Hammett Macbeth? Was it Netflix or Amazon?
Oh, Acorn.
Acorn?
Maybe Acorn.
But it's really, that is really cute. That was a really fun escape. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We just stream a lot of things and watch those. And when I am listening, it's usually country music, because that's still my favorite thing. Love country music. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Once the holidays hit, it's going to be Christmas music all the way.
Mm-hmm. When does it become official holiday season for you?
Right after Thanksgiving, ready to roll.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's such a short season. You got to make it worth your while. Ooh, it looks like the pumpkin rolls have come out. Let's see how they turned out. I'll turn the light on here.
I love it. It's like Food Network.
There we go. Whoop. I'm terrible. There we go.
Oh,
wow.
They look great.
So you know what I'm going to be eating? I think I could have let them rise a little longer, but I didn't want to run away in the middle of our interview to mess with my rolls. But so that's what we authors do in our spare time. We make things to make ourselves fat, because we're already not getting fat enough sitting at our computer typing all day. No.
It's good for the thinking process, right? When you're like, I need to do some brainstorming.
Brain needs carbs, right? Your brain needs carbs. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, Sheila, thank you so much. This was so much fun chatting with you. I really, really appreciate it. Before we end the official recorded portion of the interview, where can readers find out more about you and stay in touch with you?
Well, I tell you what, I love to hang out on Facebook. And if you look for Sheila Roberts Writer, Fun with Sheila, you'll find my like page there. And then, of course, my website is Sheila's Place. And so love to be able to hang out with readers and get to know them. And it's been really, I have to say, I really have enjoyed Instagram and Facebook. I feel like I am making lifelong friends there. It's funny how you can become friends just on the internet. It's just really delightful. So yeah, I hope some of the ladies here will join me and hang out there. It'd be great fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sheila. So Sheila is going to stay a little bit, about 15 more minutes. If you guys have any extra follow-up questions, I'm going to end the recording, and she